Joining us on the show today, Nandini Bhalla, editor-in-chief at The Word magazine, her own venture that she has just recently launched. She is a long-standing former editor of Cosmo, Harper's and Brides Today, and somebody who also launched Grazia in the country at the young age of 25. She knows the fashion and beauty world inside out, and she has her own brand of feminism, which we're going to discover more about today. Nandini, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Aabha.
So I want to ask you, did you always want to be an editor, a fashion journal, just, someone fun, young in the city, figuring it all out? What was your mission and purpose when you were 21 years old?
I don't know if you believe in just things happening when they're meant to happen. But for me, when I was a little girl, I was the editor of my school, basically magazine. And when I was 9 or 10, I actually launched my own newspaper called Sunshine, which I gave out to like little kids. And I would just always write. When I was in school, I was also writing for the Indian Express. I think it was just meant to be. There were no doubts I just knew that this is where I would ultimately be. And I guess when they say that, when you actually say that out loud, it just kind of happens. So, yeah.
Amazing. So, you were offered this opportunity to take over Grazia as an editor at 25. Oh, when does that happen? They didn't ask you your litany of experience, this, that. And was it really like being thrown into the deep end?
Totally. I was young. I was extremely foolish. I would like to think that I was bright and I was a hard worker, but I did not know how to manage teams, how to lead teams. There was just so much to be learnt at that point. But I think what I did wrong was not really knowing. And what they say about really years teaching you how to work differently, that's just absolutely true. Nothing can ever replace that. But for me, it was just this massive challenge that I have to launch Grazia in the country, even though this was my first senior level job. And I just took that up, and I still actually remember that I just wouldn't go back home. I would just keep on sitting in the office with my Red Bull cans, and I would just keep on working. So I would think what I lacked in, let's say, management skills, I'm hoping I kind of made up in just sheer hard work and wanting to make things happen.
So you had ambition or passion, what would you say? Or just going with the flow?
I think passion, ambition, both. I like to get things done. I care deeply about putting my best into anything at all. I care deeply about fashion, about beauty, about writing. And also I like to create. In fact, I am one of those people who is much better at really launching and at doing things, and then I get a little bit bored, and I'm like, okay, now what do I launch or what do I start next? So yeah, passion, ambition, and also, let me just add that a lot of women tend to look at the word ambition with a slightly negative view. It's not seen as being girly, it's not seen as being maybe feminine, So you don't want to be called sort of ambitious. You don't want to say that, yes, I'm a driven, ambitious woman. And I think that is a real issue, because to me, what could be better for anyone, woman, man, to really want to go and make things happen. I think that, women really need to own that word and say, yes, I am ambitious, yes, I am passionate, and that doesn't quite take away from your being feminine in any way.
No, absolutely, I agree. And I think that's why I was kind of asking or probing, because, there is a stereotype. There is a stereotype that if somebody enters, particularly the space, it was even in media in general. I'm from the media industry. I had a career in media as well. And when I started out, it was considered a little bit like a pastime, maybe not by my bosses, but, but maybe socially a little bit that, okay, she's just, trying out something.
Yeah.
And I think especially then you add to it, that the entire world of fashion and glamour and so forth. And it can be perceived as this is a hobby. You know, so and for you to have taken on such responsibility early on, and to obviously have been recognized for creating something, because you moved on to Cosmo, and then also managed several other magazines under the group, and you were with them 14 years,
Yeah,
15
14
years,
years,
yeah.
yes.
So that's quite a legacy stint. How was that transition, and what were you greeted with when you entered this much larger kind of behemoth of an organization?
You know, so what has really served me well, Abha, over many, many years is that I have learned to put my head down and just work. And I think that I learned this at a very young age, because I just learned that there will just always be noise sort of around you. You know, there'll be people who like you, or they do, or they don't like you, or that people have got things that they think that maybe they could do differently, etc., etc. And I always tell people that the proof ultimately is in the pudding, right? When I took over Grazia, when I took over Cosmo, when I took over Harper's and Brides, what I did was put my head down and just shut out all of that noise. So I cared a lot less about what people thought or what people said. And that just really helped me move ahead, because if I had gotten insecure at any point, if I had gotten nervous, if I had gotten into a people-pleasing mode, which, I mean, women tend to very often be that, right? You know, women want to be the good girls, or they want to be the nice girl, or they just want to be liked, you know. And I think that what I learned was that if I let go of that deep desire to be liked, I can work. If I focus on being liked, or on saying, oh, you know, she's a nice girl,
Yeah.
I would never get my work done. So for all of these brands, I put work first. I wore blinders. I did not care what was happening sort of around me, and I just got the job done. And I think that's what's kind of helped me at that point.
Well, it must have taken, you know, oodles of hard work, especially when you took on all three magazines at the same time. And I think that was right after COVID or during COVID.
It was during
around that time.
Yes.
When you look back, do you feel that you had to make sacrifices on, I don't know, other choices with your time, your health, in other ways? Or do you feel that it was a phase that you needed to go through for some kind of personal or professional fulfillment?
You know, I think that women have been lied to for so many years about having it all. And yes, of course, you can have it all. You can have a great work life, you could have a great basically family, you can have a great self-love phase, you can, all of that. But you cannot have it all at the same time in the same measure. And I think that that is really where we go wrong, that you really cannot be the perfect boss or the perfect sort of worker bee, along with the perfect wife and the perfect daughter and the perfect best friend and the perfect social girl and the perfect mother, all at the same time. So when you take on any task, and taking on the three magazines was a lot of work.
I remember hearing about it at the time, and I said, she did what? She did that voluntarily. Like, you know, and it's a huge challenge, and it's a huge privilege, but it's also a lot of work.
It was a lot of work.
Yeah.
But what that means is that something else got to give. Of course, it was great that we were in the middle of COVID, because that just meant that I had fewer things to go out and do. But it really goes back to the basically blinder theory, where I just learned to shut certain things out. So maybe in those 3-4 years, I was not the perfect friend. Maybe I was a slightly scattered family member. Maybe I was not looking after myself. And these are all life, ultimately, phases, right? So then you can also switch over and say, okay, now I will be a decent employee or a decent worker bee, and I will be a great daughter or a great partner or a great friend. And I think it is that balance, you know, where you kind of have to be okay with it. What I did, though, was I actually divided my day into hours.
Okay.
And I worked about 12 hours a day, or about 14 hours a day. But what I did was that I would divide my day into slots of 4-4-4 or 5-5-5. And that was the only way I could move between the three different magazines and get work done. I just became this manic list maker, and I've just always loved lists. But now I was making these kind of lists that were just epic lists, And I would like to basically strike things off. When you take on more, when you want to grow, and if that's what you want to do, growth simply means that you have to take on more. You know, if you keep on doing that one thing, even if you do it very, very well, you will still be doing only that one thing. When you want to grow, expand businesses, expand careers, usually what that means is that you'll be taking on more work. And in those moments, the only thing that will really help you is the best productivity tips in the world. You will have to make better lists. You will have to organize time better. You may have to wake up earlier. You may have to sleep later. But the core lies in just being hyper organized. In my case, trying to be hyper organized, because I tend to be a bit creatively scattered once in a while. But I just worked really hard on my lists, on like sort of basic coordination, extremely clear tasks, making a to-do list on the night before, getting my calls going first thing in this, you know, so just like a ton of just knowing where your time is going to be going. Yeah.
So, you know, I remember I interned at Cosmo, by the way, back in the day. I think on one of my college breaks or something. And it used to be this cozy office in CP somewhere,
yes,
right?
Jhandewala.
Jhandewala, yeah. And now, and before that actually was even in CP. Even before Jhandewala.
Possibly,
I
yes.
actually sound really old, but yeah, I think that's when it first really started in India. And today, of course, it's this, you know, we've got Cosmo and the other magazines at Mediaplex, and it's you know, part of a huge organization. What was the journey like? I mean, because you were there, you were part of this this organization and the growth of the brand, you know, over a decade. Talk to us about, you know, being part of really transforming the kind of readership we had in the country, catching the phase of, you know, the fascination for beauty and wellness exploding over here, and fashion. And what was it like to be at the center of all of it?
So when I took over Cosmo at that time had really earned itself basically like a basic reputation for just being about sex and being about love and being about
it was like
how
that
to
back in
hook
the day,
the guy, and you know, 100 ways to I mean, you know, to please that guy. And that was really what Cosmo was being talked. That was what, and I'll put this one more time. So when I took over Cosmo was being seen as this brand that was known for sex and about love.
It
and
totally
about
was, yeah.
how to hook that guy, how to get that guy, which is fine. But we were also in this massive internet phase. So you don't really need a sort of magazine to come and tell you about how to have better sex, because you could just go and Google it, right? But also there was just something else, which is that relationships can never be a one-sided approach. And Cosmo in the 70s was really a powerful feminist brand, because it just told women that please go for what you want, go and date who you want, go and get pleasure in the bedroom. And to me, that really seemed more suited to the times than really about pleasing a man, getting a man. Women are not just one type of person, right? You know, I mean, we've got so many other things, so many different facets. So when I took over Cosmo, what I did first was to pick up a more feminist stance with it, and talking about pleasure in the bedroom, but also pride in the boardroom, you know, and just about ways to be your best self.
Yeah.
What can you do differently to be stronger, to be happier, to be more, to make more money, to just really be a better human being? And we took that as our goal. So we launched India's first feminism issue. We talked constantly about body, basically positivity. We talked about gender roles. We talked about just all of the things that were really about breaking barriers, not just sticking with the norm, and just really standing out, because women don't just need to be told your life depends on a man, because your life depends on so many other things, you know. So we really, I mean, so we just really became about growth, about telling them that, look, this is how you can be confident and how you can just learn to love yourself a little bit more.
Did you find it difficult, or did you find any resistance when you were doing, you know, all these new issues and taking up new topics? And it's really changing mindsets.
Yeah.
You know, so when you're going out there and doing these covers, because you know, I remember correct me if I'm wrong, earlier or maybe still some of the global magazines have, guidelines on what
Yeah.
can be on the cover,
Yeah.
whether it's a celebrity or how they should look, etc. I mean, and then you come in there and you've done everything from, body positivity, gender fluidity, all kinds of topics that you've picked up, and a variety of amazing people that you have featured.
Yeah.
Was there resistance?
Most of these covers features actually did very, very well. In fact, one of my favorites was the tummy series, where we actually got women just to bare their tummies. If you ask women anywhere, most of them will just come and tell you that they don't like their own stomachs. And it's just a body part, right? But because we've been taught over the years, recently actually, that you must have like this super flat-board tummy, you just don't feel confident with the way that your own body looks. So we actually got beautiful women, mothers, just young girls, people who were not a size extra small, etc., etc. And we said, look, just come and bare your tummies. And that was one of our most popular features ever. Did we get flack? A couple of times, there were some voices that came up saying that, oh, but this is not what beautiful is.
Really?
Or, yes. And we had people talking about fat, basically shaming. A little bit of that, but just this overwhelming response saying, finally, we've got covers that are not perfect. When I took over Cosmo, by the way, one of the first things that I did was that I said we will not Photoshop bodies. We will not make you from a size large to a size small. We'll do a basic touch-up, but we will not be snipping you.
Do people ask you to Photoshop them?
Yes, because a lot of people were still doing that.
Yeah.
So yes, a couple of people, a couple of stars said, look, make my arms thinner, or make my legs thinner. And I literally went to war with them saying, we will not be doing any of this because we don't, this is not part of the current DNA of the magazine. Also, with Brides Today specifically, we put on the cover Alok Menon, who is a gender neutral and a basically gender fluid voice. And we put him in Indian wedding wear. Just to talk about,
I've seen these covers. I think they're fabulous.
And that got us a ton of flack, by the way.
Flack?
I mean, we were really, there were just many, many people who said that why is a man with a beard wearing a lehenga choli with a red lipstick on and with gold jewelry on. But you know what, Aabha, sometimes you just have to do what you believe in. And that goes back to my first point, that when you've got blinders on, it is less to do with pleasing other people and a lot more to do with the kind of message that you want to put out there. Because I believe that we need to fight for just like basically gender sort of equality.
Yeah.
I would put that on the cover, and there were some people who obviously loved it, and there were some people who were literally appalled to say that why is a man with a beard wearing wedding wear? But you just have to shut out that noise and keep on doing whatever you know is the right thing that you have to do.
Did your, when I say boss, I mean you were the boss, but did the other decision makers at the group also support you, or was anyone nervous about this kind of response from a business standpoint?
That's a tough one to answer, because I'm going to have to I have to link directly back to certain people. I'm going to have to give you a very PG answer.
Yes,
this one,
okay. This is an unfiltered show. We don't cut anything. So.
Oh, really?
Yes. Just throwing that in there.
Oh no, we will have to cut this little bit. It'll land us both in trouble. No, but jokes sort of aside,
okay.
I think everybody was actually, was like sort of actually extremely supportive. Also, numbers speak for themselves. If certain pieces hadn't actually performed well, if he had not got the kind of growth or the kind of push, then maybe I would have gotten into a bit of trouble. But because everything that we had done, whether it was women with their tummies out, whether it was gender fluid people on cover, whether it was men wearing women's clothes, whether it was talking about basically feminism, whether it was just putting women with bare skin on the covers to say that, nothing has been touched up. There is no makeup on these women, to showing people's wrinkles and their white hair and all of that. When the numbers show you that this has done extremely well, I think that
It's
the
proof that
is in the pudding.
That the definition is changing.
Yes, exactly.
The definition is changing. In terms of people dynamics, and I ask because, I mean, it's an industry that can have a lot of competitiveness, a lot of stress, timelines. You're working, it's people-centric. So you're constantly working with all kinds of people, junior to you, senior to you, external people, clients, etc. How did you deal with the pulls and pressures of this? Talking specifically maybe about the world of fashion, did you find that people in general are supportive, or do they pull each other down? I'm not even saying women necessarily, but even within women and peers, or do you feel that you were able to manage it because you're good at your people relations? How was it for you? Because these things can really affect
certainly
and really play pivots in our journeys.
Absolutely. So the fashion industry, as well as media generally, is a very, very people-first sort of industry, right? When I launched Grazia, I don't think I was very good with managing people, or even really caring about how to manage people. It just took me a couple of years, which goes back to my point about really how time kind of teaches you how to do things differently. And I love people, and I love talking to people, and I love sort of interacting. I think like with any other industry, you'll always have different kinds of people, right? I mean, whether you're in the banking industry or, whether you're in maybe politics or anywhere at all, right? Yeah. And you learn to find your own tribe, and you just learn to find that there are some people who are cheerleaders, who are friends, who are allies. And I think that what I've learned over the years is I seek out allies now, and I know who my allies are. And I've been very, very lucky that I've actually managed to find myself certain allies from the journalism business, from the PR business, from the fashion business. I don't believe when people say that the sort of entire fashion industry is a nasty industry. I don't think that is true. Yes, it is focused on first impressions. Yes, there is a lot to do with how you come sort of across.
Okay.
But there are good people everywhere. And I think I just learned to hone that skill where I pick up on someone's warmth. This one thing that I've just always said is, I don't like people who are cool. I just never got this, she's a cool girl, or, he's a cool guy. I don't see enough value, maybe value is not the right word. I am not naturally inclined towards cool people, and I like warmth. I like people who will smile, who will be warm, who will actually make an effort to be kind and to be nice and to get to know you. And I think it took me maybe a couple of years, but I have over the years really managed to seek out people who are nice, who are warm, who are actually supporters, who just truly believe in the girl, in girl power, or in true friendships. And when you get that group together, and Aabha, you would know this from your own line of work.
Yeah.
When you've got people sort of around you who are your cheerleaders, they have your back. Whether you need a number, whether you need to make a basically sort of introduction, whether you need a great business lead, whether you need help with something, whether you just want them to come and say, hey, you know what, that was a great job done. And I wish I had learned this earlier. I wish I had put a little bit more effort right in the start towards building my own gang of girls within the workspace, right? Because sometimes or maybe at least me, I had thought that my friends are my friends who are not people that I work with. And at work, everybody is a colleague, because maybe someone taught me at a young age that, you don't have to trust people at work, be a little bit careful at work. But now what I feel is, you can make friends at work. At the very least, you can make some lovely allies at work. And I've just really focused on that. And I'm lucky that now I've got a decent size of just lovely women and men that I truly get along with, who have helped me and who are just fabulous.
So you started really young. And I'm asking you these questions because I'm also clearing out stereotypes, right?
Sure.
So you start young, this attractive young girl, and you didn't come across any biases or prejudices in terms of like, okay, maybe she doesn't know what she's talking about, how's she going to run this thing?
Yeah.
etc. I'm asking in a personal way.
Sure,
You know, that did you come across that, and did it faze you at all? I mean, you don't sound like someone who gets fazed, but you know, at 25, 26, sometimes we all get fazed.
I was totally phased.
Yeah.
When you are 25 and you know that you are far too young for the kind of leadership sort of responsibility that's been given to you, I think that there are two things that happen. One is that you don't really know how to be a leader. So you will most likely, which is what I did, copy another leader that you know you might have known, and you don't know that that leader has maybe worked for 20 years to get that kind of way of doing things. So I know that I didn't know how to be a good leader or just any kind of leader, you know.
Yeah.
So I began copying leaders that I had known, some of which now I feel were maybe not the best for me to have been like, because I'm a different person. So number one, yes. Number two, you also know in your heart that a lot of people will think that, but she's far too young, what does she even know? You've got teams who are very often older than what you are, much, much older, with a lot more sort of experience. And you want them to kind of respect you, you know, which is a tough one, right? Because you're young and, you know, you don't really know very, very much. So what I did was I changed my entire wardrobe. And I began to go to work in these very morose black sheath dresses with very high heels and this super dark red mouth, because I wanted to be taken seriously, right? And I would speak in a very clipped way because I wanted to be taken, and I was perhaps copying some other leader. And now when I look back, and I wish I could go and tell my younger self that it doesn't really matter. You know, all that you have to do is to work hard and to prove through your work, whether you're wearing a black sheath dress with super high heels and a dark red mouth, or you go to work in anything at all. You know, it's just about what you bring to the table, and that is really it.
I was coming to that next. I think, you know, you've got a phenomenal following on social media, and we often see you out there at, you know, events, otherwise, wardrobe choices. You've been, you know, you have your own identity. I don't think that I can say that you've ever tried to be doing something else. You know, when Nandini posts something, it's quite clear that you're, you know, something that's caught your fancy and you're going for it.
Yeah.
Do you ever get trolled? Because again, some of those choices are brave.
Yeah.
And not that you've ever done anything sort of, you know, what's the word? Not that there's been anything inappropriate. But you know, you do experiment. So
I do. You know, I think that while I take work, while I take work extremely seriously, you know, and I can be one of those workaholic sticklers, I don't take myself all that seriously. And I have just always said that fashion needs to be fun. And I think that, you know, there's just too much effort on the combinations and, you know, certain colors shouldn't go, or if you're not XYZ size and you can't wear prints, or you should not be wearing horizontal stripe versus vertical stripe, or this is a really big trend, therefore I should go and pick it up. I like to have fun with my clothes. I like to have fun with color. I don't take myself or my social media all that seriously. When I first began posting on sort of Instagram, it was not very cool for magazine editors to be posting on Instagram. And I know that there was a bit of flack there. I know that there was some talk about this is not what serious magazine editors do, you know.
This is where it's coming from, because I'm from the industry and I know how hard it is to prove your credibility.
Exactly,
or your,
exactly.
You know,
so, you know, it wasn't really taken as being serious to be posting about what you're wearing or where you're going or what you ate, etc. And I think when I started, and I made everybody sort of around me get onto the site to like the app as well. I forced a lot of people in my team to join it because I knew that was where things were going to be moving. There was this massive struggle, but you know, it was still fairly quiet, right? Print magazines were still the only ultimate source of giving you information about fashion or about beauty or about anything at all. And I knew that this was going to become massive and that we'd be actually foolish if we did not join now, because then you miss out on the first mover sort of advantage. So I got in right in the start. Again, I didn't really care what anybody said. I said, oh, you know, she's too casual about this, and she's meant to be a little bit sort of elusive and like a little bit, you just can't be that actively seen. But I would post whatever I wanted to. And I have a quirky side to like me, and I don't really want to hide it. I mean, you can be a serious leader or a serious worker, and you could still find candy floss really good. And I don't think that we need to hide all of our parts, I mean, we don't have to be just one kind of person. All of us have just so
multifaceted.
Yeah. But what I've learned is, because I did not take myself overtly seriously, I just posted. If I had taken myself seriously, I probably would have never had the courage to post a Hello Kitty, which I used to love at that point, or about what I was wearing, because I'd be so conscious. And it is that same reason that we get so conscious that we don't launch companies, we don't write books, we don't reach out to people, we don't go and say hi to somebody first, because we're just taking ourselves so overtly seriously that we are not, we don't do the things that can really change our lives in so many wonderful ways. So, as I say, I will take work seriously, very, very seriously. When it comes to work, I can be a toughie. But when it comes to me, I'm happy to laugh. I'm happy to wear whatever I think is fun. I'm not here to follow rules about fashion and color and body type and hair type, and I think life is far too short, Aabha, for us to be so caught up in all of that.
So how does this, glamorous persona that you have affect your relationship with men? I'm asking with the Cosmo, former Cosmo editor, yeah.
Wow, we're going to have to ask all the
I mean, they're usually intimidated by any sort of, high achiever, and then the combo of like glamour combined. How does it work?
I think when it comes to men, and for any woman who is in a leadership position or who is in the glamour sort of industry, there's a kind of man who would be sort of intimidated by literally anything. I mean, you just have to be living your own life, and he might find that that's not the way to do things. And then there's the kind of man who is so comfortable in his own success or in his own masculinity or in his own basically femininity, that I don't think that would really matter. And I just truly believe that there's not a one size fits all or a one type for anyone, right? Everybody has their own type, and I think that there's some people who are sort of attracted to just someone who is in leadership, and there's somebody who would not want that at all. And you're actually better off, I always tell women, please choose your partners carefully if you want to build your work part, right? Pick a partner who will actually be your like basically your cheerleader, the kind of man or woman who will say, yes, why don't you go and do more, why don't you grow more, why don't you try more, versus the kind of person who's like, oh, now it's 6 o'clock and you're still working. If your goal is to grow, is to really make a key difference in whatever field you're in, you must be with a partner who will be genuinely supportive of that, because I've just met so many women who have married people or even men, and their partners are not the kind of, and then that brings that down. It's just a constant flux in you, right? Because you want to do this, these were your goals or your dreams, and now your partner is the one saying, why are you not home? Or, why are you not looking at the kitchen more often? So if you want that, if you've got dreams and goals, which I think is great, you must pick a life partner who will actually be an ally.
Now you've gone on to take this very big step of launching your own magazine, The Word, which is, I think, just a great display or combination of all the things that you love. Yes. I can see, right? Tell us your plans for it, and also, was it a scary step?
So launching the Word magazine was actually not scary at all.
And why am I not surprised? After all that you've told me about how you love your work, I feel like it was something that was bound to happen.
I mean, I just felt excitement, and that's the only thing that I felt.
Because you're stepping out on your own. Yeah. After having this, after being in a largish organization where largely you don't have to worry about a lot, but you still got a lot of infrastructure.
True. But to me, there was no fear whatsoever. when I thought of actually launching with the word, it just felt like the most natural thing that perhaps I should have done a long time back. Because Aabha, ultimately what the goal is to own a significant slice of the Indian media sort of industry. And the word is a media house. So this is the very first magazine in it. And over the years, we're actually hoping to launch multiple magazines, multiple titles, multiple digital media sort of assets, IPs, events, all of that, because we want to ultimately own a slice of the Indian media pie, you know. And was I scared? No, I wasn't scared at all. I was really excited. I couldn't wait to launch it. I couldn't sleep at night because I was just so excited at all points. And plus, I think what had really helped me was I had a very clear vision of where it needed or where it needs to go. And I didn't think very much of how that would happen. Now I know exactly how it would happen, and I know that our business is like sort of ultimately about storytelling, about media, about collaborations, about IPs, events, all of that. But at that point, I just had a very clear vision of what the word media would be. And I could see it in my mind from a 5-year standpoint, from a 10-year plan, from a 20-year plan, from a 30-year plan. And because I knew and I know where it needs to go, I just know that things will fall into place. You know, one more thing that I actually must add here. When I started working, I was an intern. So I really started from the very bottom, right? And I think I was the most enthu-cutlet intern to be ever there, because I was the one to say, oh, who will do that? Me, I. I just took on everything. And I learned and I learned and I learned, and I would love to be given more work or more things to do. And I'm glad that I was that person then, because by the time I took over Grazia or Cosmo or whatever, I could do every area of the business. So if I was in a crunch or in a pinch and I did not have access to somebody in the art team, I knew how to do that. If there was somebody sick in the, let's say, fashion team, I knew how to do that. Beauty team, I knew. I had learned every single facet of the magazine business or of the media business in the lifestyle space. So with the Word magazine, I just know that, you know, after you've learned so much, and I think that maybe, and I'm so basically grateful for all of the lovely opportunities that I was given in the past, because they've really shaped me to be a lot more confident about where the word media needs to go.
And I love that you're building a legacy. I love that you're just starting, and that you're excited about the way ahead, you know. And I think you're going to create so many more opportunities for so many other women to be part of this journey. Do you see yourself as being a supportive boss today? You mentioned when you first started, perhaps, you know, you were figuring it out yourself.
Yeah.
Today, what would Nandini be like as a boss? And what have you picked up from women bosses that you've had?
Yeah.
And what is the one thing that you would not replicate from that experience?
You know, female bosses have the worst reputation. As a matter of fact, I was reading this study from a couple of years back where people actually unanimously voted that female bosses were the worst. And that's so horrible because we're all female bosses,
I mean,
right?
It seems, I don't know if we're perpetuating a myth or it actually
exists.
exists.
It's awful, you know. But for me personally, I think the kind of leader that I am now is I am extremely demanding, but I care so deeply for the people that I work with. And I'm so proud that whenever they leave us and they go somewhere else, they are the shining stars of any company that they join, because they have been they've been given the kind of opportunities for growth. That's the one thing that I never hold back on. I don't believe in basically hierarchies, because I was lucky enough to be not given that, right? So I have an open door policy. You can come and you can talk to me about anything. You can demand to do anything at all, even if it's not, because you know what, within most magazine structures, you are given a role. If you're a photo editor, your only job is to go and take out photos. And a lot of times, you are not sort of allowed to try something else because your job is fixed. And I don't think that's the right way to do things. In fact, I always tell my own team, learn everything. You don't even know what you really want to do. But if you learn everything, so tomorrow, if a fashion stylist comes and says, look, I would like to write, I'll be the first one to say, you know what, make her write. Let her get her bylines out. If you've got writers who would like to go and help style a cover shoot, I'll say, please go and do it. I love seeing people and giving them, I just like to see people try more and do more. And I like to think that I give them a lot of growth chances. I care about them deeply. Maybe I'm not the best at always showing that, but I think that everyone that I've worked with, or most people that I have worked with, I will try and keep in touch. They're all doing phenomenally well. They have all grown to the top. And yeah, and I feel like this great love for them because we've all grown together, we've all learned together, we've had our good days and our bad days together. Regarding what kind of female boss I would never be, I think is an insecure female boss. I don't think there's any reason to be insecure ever about people that you work with. You know, I believe that, you know, there's a sort of enough to, I think that as a leader, your job is to grow. That is really what your core job is. It is to bring in fabulous people together, have them put their best forward, and your role is to grow and to sort of expand. I don't get into the gossip. I don't get into, in fact, you know, I mean, it was a huge joke. I was the last to know any kind of gossip within the teams because that's just, I mean, that's just not one of my key focus areas. I would rather focus on what can we do next, what can we do better, how can I help train people better, how can I make somebody perform better, are they happy here, are they bringing their best, why are they not really smiling today, are they not feeling all that great. And to me, I think it's about taking that step back and saying, this is my role. My role is to grow, is to sort of expand. It is not to narrow things down in the little irritants of daily life. It's really think like that.
So I know you said that you don't ever listen to the gossip, but I'm sitting with someone who's been at the center of so much of all the action in India and Bollywood and everything. So you gotta give us something. Give us like some anecdote, story, best BTS shoot, most fun celebrity to shoot with, most non-fun celebrity to shoot with, anything.
So over the years, and I've shot hundreds of covers, I've met some very easy to work with Bollywood stars and then some not so easy to work with Bollywood stars. Without taking names, I'll just say that a lot of times, you know, if there's a Bollywood star who comes in with a slight sense of tantrum, I think it just ruins the mood for everyone on that set because everyone's tense, you know, and you're just not having a good time. And those covers, oddly enough, or maybe it's kind of obvious, have never worked out in the way because your makeup artist is tense, your hair artist is tense, your basically stylist is tense. I mean, I know right in the beginning of my career, there was this one star who just chucked all the clothes, and they're really sort of expensive things, you know, and she wanted to be dressed in a particular way. She wanted to be extremely sexy, and we had flown down clothes from basically Paris, and they were all very, very elegant, and she threw those really expensive couture garments out of the room and on the floor. Then she made people cry. Wow. And that is really one of my worst covers because I think everybody was just so anxious, you know. But then on the other side, you will sometimes work with people, and it's mostly the good guys that you work with who are just so pleasant, you know. They'll be happy, they'll be smiling, and they give themselves to you saying, okay, this is your shoot, you know what you want, you know how you want me to look. So we're okay if this is the kind of hair that you want, this is the kind of makeup that you want. And those shoots have always been absolutely wonderful. In most recent times, I shot with Kareena Kapoor, who is just such a confident on-set person. She's so calm.
She is magical.
You know, and I still remember that she said to me, she's like, you know what, please don't change the way that I look. You know, this is who I am. You know, and I've got a bit of a, you know, paunch, and I've got this and I've got that. Please don't do a lot to me. And to me, that was so lovely because she was so calm on that set. Sonam will come in and say, because you know, she loves clothes as well, right? So she will offer inputs, but it's in like the nicest, kindest way, you know, it's just lovely. So Ananya Pandey is an absolute delight to work with. She's just nice to everyone. She is extremely sort of polite. And she will, again, give herself to the team and say, okay, what do you guys want me? Do you want me to be strong today? Do you want me to be feminine? Do you want me to be sexy? Do you want me to be powerful? What are you looking for? And then everything just works out well. So I mean, there's just many of them. And I've been lucky to work with all of them over the years. But when the star, you know, because they're anyway a little bit sort of intimidating in that moment, right? And when they come in a bad mood or they want to prove certain points, that I know right in the beginning is a shoot that's not going to work out the way that I was hoping it will. And when everybody's in a good mood, you know, you've got music playing, everyone's dancing a little bit, those covers or those shoots have always been the best.
What is still on your wish list? Leave us with that today.
What's on my wish list?
In terms of a cover or in terms of, you know, in terms of whether it's profile, whether it's someone you want to interview, whether it's a business milestone, anything.
What's still on my wish list? My God, Aabha, I have shot so many covers. I think I might have done
that
them
part's
all.
Done. Okay.
I might have done them all. So when we launched the Word magazine, actually, I think that was the most ambitious cover I've ever shot. Because we did 24 covers with 139 people. And I think I had not even ever thought I would shoot so many covers.
What a phenomenal launch, because look at the support and the backing that you had to go ahead and do that at your launch issue. It's a testament to what you've done all these years and the legacy you've already created.
Well, now I have to go and beat that.
Yes.
So what's on my wish list is that how do you beat a 24 cover series with 139 people?
Wow.
So
who told you to go and do that?
Maybe it's like 1,000 people the next time. It was like 100 covers. I don't know. But for now, I think that's kind of set the bar a bit high for myself as well.
Yeah.
And I have to see what I can do next to really beat that.
All right. Well, we'll look forward to it. Nandini Bhalla on our show today. Unedited, unfiltered, as always. Thank you so much, Nandini, for joining us. It was super fun chatting with you today.
Thank you.